My name is Richard Wirth. I live in the city of Saratoga Springs. I came up here with my wife after 9/11. I love it here. It's a great place to live. I'm a private investigator. I have my own company called Craig Investigations, and I investigate all types of investigations, and I've been involved in that. And prior to that, I was involved in law enforcement with actually child abuse investigations, animal abuse investigations. I was an investigator for animal abuse. I was a director of law enforcement for animal abuse, and then I was a lieutenant regarding child abuse investigations. I did that also, and I also did internal investigations for a municipality that I worked for. When I was 18, I became a lifeguard. That helped me put me through college, and I did that, and I actually retired as a special assistant to the commissioner in the Parks Department after 37 years. I retired early, and then I came up here. I became a private investigator in January of 1987, approximately 28 years ago. And I have children. I have 3 daughters, a son, 5 grandchildren. And it's a beautiful thing, to have family, and they come up here and they visit me, and we go downstate to visit them. I was brought up in East Meadow, New York. My dad was a contractor. I've been working actually since I'm about 5 years old. When my dad was a contractor, I used to help him out when he used to build houses and things, and he got me into the working sector. And I felt, that was very important. Family means a lot to me. I went to college in Maine for 4 years. Psychology was my degree. And then I got my master's degree, a master's in professional studies from Adelphi University. I went to school at night because I always worked during the day. So besides being a lifeguard, I have a resume here. I was involved as a store detective. I worked for other investigators in the private investigation field. And I had many jobs. And it was quite interesting because then you deal with people and you learn a lot dealing with people. And that's what I really love to do. And I love to help people. I've helped a lot of people in the private investigation field. Had many incredible investigations that went on. Very extensive, very sensitive investigations. And if you can help people out, why not? I want to help people out in the city. I want to help people out in the colleges, especially Skidmore, and that's why I'm here, and I want to thank you for having me here, actually. I'm actually hoping that the students will look at the candidate, and that's very important, and what the candidate can do for office. The Commissioner of Public Safety that I'm running for, I'm excited about getting in. I think I'm going to win this election because of who I am and what I could do for the city. The Commissioner of Public Safety is in charge of the police department, the fire department, code enforcement, animal control, and that's what he's in charge of. Code enforcement is very important. Each unit is very, very important. And it's incredible. I know with the police department and the fire department, I have ideas, especially with Skidmore. I want there to be a partnership, you can call it, between security, the police department, the students. We could all come together. Let's create in the police department a survival unit. You have a lot of sensitive issues when it comes to assaults in your school here, and I understand that, but I want to help out with that. And I think the police department and your security department and the students can get together. And I want to have a victims unit called a survival unit in the city that I'm going to create, because that's a very sensitive issue. It's a very delicate issue, and privacy and dignity to an individual is most important. So I want to throw that out at you, that's what I'm going to do. I want to have students come to me, and I will come to you, and we'll have a mutual dialogue about things that are important to you and things that are important to me. I'm very open-minded. I'm very upfront. I will tell you the way it is, and I want you to tell me the way it is. All right? After I get elected, I'm only a human being, just like you are. But why not have us come together and create an atmosphere and an environment that we could accept all of us. So I'm all for that.
One of the things you talk about on your platform and on your campaign website is a promise to decrease quality of life crimes and infringements if you're elected. This comes at a time when quality of life policing is maybe not viewed so favorably in the public eye. Why would you continue to promote a quality of life policing in Saratoga Springs, and what exactly would that look like? What kind of policy changes would you make that maybe aren't in effect now to decrease quality of life policing and really play out your vision for Saratoga?
I feel personally that the police officers and the firefighters, for an example, should have more of a dialogue with people, with the businesses, with students, all right? More of a dialogue on a friendly gesture. A police officer I want on the beat more, walking down the streets of Saratoga. If they see students, how are you? Let's start a dialogue so people know who's who. It could be like a family. This isn't a tremendous large city. It only makes up about approximately 26,000 people. And why not have police officers on the beat more so? I think that's very important, okay? I want to enhance that. I want to enhance downtown to be safe. I want people to feel safe. I want to look at the areas that are not lit sufficient. Right? I don't want people going into our parking garages and have fear that they're scared, all right, to walk from the parking garage down to Broadway. Improper. That has to be dealt with, and I'm going to deal with that because we're going to expand the cameras downtown. And that the cameras isn't to invade anyone's privacy, because you do have some individuals that fear of, that privacy is being violated. That's not the case here. What the case is that you need it for a deterrent of crime. You need it for evidence, to secure evidence, a chain of custody, if you will. In law enforcement, you need a chain of custody. It all has to be kept in a secure location, and that's very important. So I'm out for that, to have more cameras in the garages. I'm also going to start actually electric. If you have electric vehicles, and I'm sure that students, and to keep green and sustainable, you want to have cars that go into our parking garages. There are no electric in our parking garages to plug them in. Well, I'm going to have that. I'm going to create that. I'm going to start a task force on that also. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start a task force on the homeless. And I'm very, very involved, and I will be involved. A homeless individual is a human being. Right? How you handle it, it's a sensitive matter. But I'm going to have the Senator, Kathy Marchione, Assemblyman Tedisco, all right, Congressman Tonko, and other individuals I'm going to have part of this task force. And what we're going to do is come together, all right? I still have to speak to the congressman, which I did not do yet, which I plan to do. I have spoken to Kathy Marchione, the senator, and I have spoken to Assemblyman Tedisco. And they are all in favor of this task force that we're going to put together. And what we're going to do is, when we see a homeless individual, not to attack him, not to arrest him right away, let's have him assessed. Let's get this individual and let's assess him, put him in a location where we could see. He could have a mental problem, psychological problem, a drug problem. It could be so many different factors that have to play a part here. So if we have to change a law, we will do that. All right, so that will accompany what my plan is for my vision and future for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, because I remember I was in this exact position 2 years ago, and I asked Mayor Yepsen about the problem of homelessness. And then I think a few months later, Nancy Pitts died. I don't know if you recall who Nancy Pitts is. She died of exposure. She's a homeless woman. But I am sort of curious what a program like that would look like. And I imagine it'd have to be a comprehensive program. Would you take advantage of sort of the services that Saratoga already has, including drug treatment, court? You talk about assessment. Do you know sort of how that would get paid for? Would it be through the budget, moving money around?
Well, that's why once we sit down, I will have the city, I will have the state, the county, federal, charitable organizations come around and sit around a table like this, and we're gonna come up with a plan to see how that's going to be developed and how we could actually execute it. And I'm gonna do that within the first 60 days that I'm in office, because that's so important. You know, we have now Code Blue, and that's great, but we have a situation now where you have people that are coming here now from all over, so that has to be really looked at and assessed also. Because, you know, once you come into Cold Blue, and I don't wanna see anyone freeze to death. You know, everybody deserves the proper treatment if we can give it to them. I feel it's the city's fault right now that we have this homeless situation, that nobody did anything yet. So that's why I have to do this. It's very, very important to me.
Great. Sorry, that's a sort of a hard question, but thanks for answering that. Moving on to a different topic. What is your stance sort of on the parking garage and the Collimore lot swap? I know there's been a lot of discussion about the way that land swap was made. The Attorney General has gotten involved. How might you have handled that differently? And how did it go wrong?
I think it went wrong from its infancy. I think that the current commissioner should have done his homework better. The piece of land that he was interested in, they made a connection. I think it was his deputy or himself made a connection with a religious group. When you make a connection with a religious group, and if you want to have a proposal out there that he wanted to accept, you have to check that out first with the Attorney General's office. He did not do that. The piece of land that he wanted, which I call swampland, he did not test that land. There was a Labella report in 2007, and in that Labella report, it actually shows, you'll see a number 4 on a diagram, and that actually shows that the piece of land that he made the deal with is in a 100-year floodplain. And not only that, it wouldn't have been conducive for what he wants to do. And the current commissioner speaks about, you know, the green belt and how he's not in favor of building on the green belt, but yet he was willing to build a firehouse EMS station on the green belt. Now, I knocked on through this campaign, I've been knocking on doors since May. I knocked on over 7,000 doors. I'm going actually to every house. I don't care what party you're affiliated with, all right? Everybody, this is public safety. Everybody's human, and I'm out to help everyone. So I took it upon myself to knock on these doors and talk to people. And on the East Ridge, and that's the area that comes into question here, because he promised the people on the East Ridge that they were going to have this firehouse and EMS station. Well, here we are 4 years later. Do we have it? The answer is no. Okay, so therefore, what's needed? You need an EMS. Out of all the doors that I knocked on the East Ridge, I knocked on every door on the East Ridge. There was only one individual that was really concerned about a firehouse. What's needed and what everybody's concerned about is an EMS station, an ambulance, which I will have there within the first 60 days after I get elected, because we have an agreement with Empire. Empire is a private institution. You have ambulance around the city. You have Empire, you have Mohawk. There are different establishments that provide this service. Right now, we have a current contract in place with Empire. So if the city can't deal with having an ambulance out there 24/7, we will have Empire out there 24/7. I'm going to have somebody out there 24/7, and it's going to be manned also with 2 people at all times 24/7. There's locations out there, and I know that because I have spoken to individuals, okay? And there is property out there owned by either an individual, private individual, or city-owned property. That was not the only piece of property that it could have gone on, that the commissioner said it could have. I disagree with him wholeheartedly, and I stated it also during my debate. And everything that I'm telling you now, I think I did state at the debate.
How do you think the Attorney General got word of the land swap?
I don't know how they got word, but they are investigating it. It was in the paper that the Attorney General's office is investigating the current commissioner and possibly the city council who's on the city council. And when I heard, and it was published in the paper, a letter that the current commissioner wrote to the Attorney General's office, actually telling the Attorney General's office, I wish you would stop the investigation now. How could you tell the investigation, the chief investigation, to stop an investigation when they're conducting an investigation? How could you even ask them that? I mean, I just don't understand that. That really confuses me.
What are the biggest, to ask a more substantive question, what are the biggest policy differences between you and Mr. Matesian, would you say?
I'm more transparent. I'm more open-minded. I can deal basically with anyone that's going to be on this city council. I will communicate with an open mind. I will talk to the public. I will have a constant dialogue with the public. These are the things he does not do. If someone comes to me and wants to talk to me and has a great idea, I'm going to entertain that, and we will dissect it. I might not agree with you at all times, but we'll come to an agreement, together, and that's how things are going to get accomplished. The current commissioner, there was a time, I don't know if you're familiar with the Darrell Mount Jr. case. That was a tragedy that took place. And all I wanted, because I was campaigning at the time, and I was asked by Saratoga, the grid, I was asked at that time, it was called Saratoga Wire. And right after that happened, and we were campaigning, the reporter asked me, and this is documented, and you can locate that, and he asked me, do you feel an independent investigation should happen at this time? I said, absolutely. There is no question in my mind. An independent investigation was very necessary regarding that situation, okay? Because you never know. Having a third eye look at something, there's nothing wrong with that. Not that the police or anybody did anything wrong, but you want another opinion. And that's the least that he could have done for the family. That's what the family wanted. They wanted to have an independent investigation, and the city should have done it. They did not do it. And now you have a lawsuit. Now you have a lawsuit on your hands, and it's costing the city thousands and hundreds and thousands of dollars, okay? Because of the lawsuit with the Darrell Mount Jr. case, with the land swap deal. This costs money. Not only does it cost the city money, but what about the state investigation? That's on the taxpayer arm also. And you pay for that also, and it's unheard of.
Are there other instances in which you think he's not been so transparent?
When I was
other major scandals?
Well, when I was there, I used to communicate with the police and the firemen. From what I understand, he doesn't communicate with the street cops or the firemen on the streets. All right, some of them don't even know who he is, or he doesn't even know who they are. When I was in office, my first 48 hours, I met everybody, and I think that was important to see who everybody is, to get to know the staff.
Do you think law enforcement, EMS, and the fire department, do you think they want you to be elected? I've gone through your campaign donations a little bit. There's some from, I think, the Saratoga Police Benevolent Society.
Well, what happened? We got interviewed. I was interviewed by the PBA.
That's right.
All right, the local PBA. I was interviewed by the fire department. They did not endorse, from what I understand, they did not endorse me or him in the police or fire department. Okay? In my eyes, that's like an endorsement to me.
Mm-hmm.
The New York State Police PBA troopers just endorsed me. I have that over there with my resume. The state police endorsed me, and because they know that when I was there in office in 2010, we had a relationship, and that was so important. I had a relationship with the sheriff's department, the state troopers. I had a relationship with Skidmore, the security. You have a great security staff here. I'm excited to have the students come in and talk to me. I'm excited about dealing with the professors. Maybe we can have an internship program where the students could benefit by it. I would love that.
Here's a question that'll really matter to Skidmore students. The state of nightlife in Saratoga Springs. Do you have any plans working with the local bar owners and nightclub managers to reduce the dangers? And would you be in favor of pushing back the closing time, or do you want the bars to close earlier?
No, I do not want the bars closed earlier. I think it's very important, the nightlife that Saratoga has. I think it's very important, the nightlife to the students. The students work very hard during the week. They have every right to go out and enjoy themselves, and as long as they're safe. And I will have a communication with the Skidmore students, with the security, with the downtown businesses, and I already have a relationship with the downtown businesses. All right? No, I will not close the bars at 2 o'clock. They will stay open, and I think that's fine because I want the students to feel that they're safe. We will work out a program so they get home safe. And once we have all the students in an area, at least you have students in an area where they could feel safe. Why would I want to close a bar down at 2 o'clock? That's not going to satisfy the student. The student's going to want to go out into the neighborhood, to go to neighborhood parties. That's where you're going to have a problem. So let's keep everybody together as a family, and that's how I really see it.
Great. Do you have an opinion on the Saratoga proposed Saratoga National Golf Course resort expansion?
Yes, I do. I don't feel, as long as they don't interfere with the green space. I'm into having green. There's no question about it. And sustainable. I'm all for that.
So,
But if you have a Saratoga National, and on his own property where it's set back away from the public's eye, and if he wants to do something, and if it could enhance the community, why not?
So to be clear, you are not in favor of expanding or developing on the Greenbelt, the so-called Greenbelt?
That's correct.
Great, okay. Do you think that crime is on the ascendancy in Saratoga?
Yes, I think the crime is on an uprise. I think you have a problem with drugs, heroin. I know individuals that have lost loved ones because of heroin, and I think that has to be looked into, and it has to be done with a cooperative effort. I don't want to see any students pass away because of having some bad heroin, and it's not good, you know. So everybody has to help one another, you know, and that's why we have to have, together we can speak about what's not good, what's good, how we can help each other, how you can help and promote other students from getting hurt. So that has to be done on a city level, a state level, actually federal level, county. We all have to come together, and with the students, we could all do that too, because I want you to be safe. And I want you to come to me at any time so we could communicate.
Since you bring it up, are you in favor of progressive drug policy, so maybe like a clean needle sharing program, a drug treatment, or do you think that traditional enforcement and punitive punishment is the preferred? Is that your preferred policy?
No. I want to actually enhance education into drug situations. All right, and I want actually more therapy involved in it. Okay, because you could have someone who's young who just doesn't know any better. Let's educate that person. Let's help that person, not to incarcerate him or her. Okay, so I'm definitely for treatment programs. Definitely, no question about it.
I'm jumping subjects again, but
That's
this is
fine.
kind of our last question. Last time around, you were unsuccessful in your campaign. What have you done differently this time to ensure that you'll be elected?
Last time I lost by 59 votes. What I did differently this time is I knocked on 7,000 doors. I've been walking since May. I've been knocking on every door. Last time I did not knock on every door. I knocked on a lot of doors, but not 7,000 doors. And I've been communicating with so many different people on so many different levels. And being out for 2 years I have a different mindset looking in, without having a biased decision-making. I'm more open-minded, and I see things the way they really are. So I think it was a blessing, actually, not being elected. Losing by 59 votes was pretty tough, but it's okay. I think it's going to pay off in the end. And I'm just doing so many things between meeting people, going into groups, into different areas, connecting with people. Last night, I was over by the terrace, communicating with individuals over there. All the different neighborhoods I've been communicating with, the East Ridge I've been communicating with, and talking to a lot of people about the issues, because this city, it's like 26,000 people, but it's pretty big in a different manner. Every area has different concerns and different issues. If it's, you have the infrastructure, all right, that's very important within the city. You have different areas in the city that have different problems. So I'm connecting with all of those individuals and the different groups, the different business groups. You have the Downtown Business Association, all these different groups. You have the Chamber, Saratoga Chamber, which is great. They do a great job. And Skidmore, you have your students here, and I'm very proud of them, and I want these students to grow up and be something, and I think you could definitely do it, But if I can enhance that and help that in any way with an internship program, I would love to do that. I want to be instrumental in helping, and I hope that the students are going to help me.
Just to make it clear for students, we hear a lot at the federal level, and if you watch cable news, how terrible partisanship is, gridlock in Washington, Democrats, Republicans, the left and the right, liberals and conservatives. But at the local level, that's not necessarily true. On the city council, you have maybe a couple elected individuals who might be Democrats, but don't see eye to eye, even on party lines. So there isn't really that sort of partisanship at the local level. Could you just talk about what it would mean to work across the aisle with a Democrat or another Republican, and sort of the way partisanship plays out at the local level?
I think it's great to have a commission form of government like we do. That's fine. And if you would go back and watch any of the videos when I sat on the council in 2010 and 11, you will see that I worked across the board. We had Democrats and Republicans, and I worked with everyone, and it went great. And I used to have meetings. When I first went into office, I actually invited all the commissioners and the mayor into my office so we could sit down and talk. Prior to that, some people never saw the Commissioner of Public Safety's office. And that will tell you right there that I was open, and when we came up with different issues, I would invite them in and we would sit and talk, and we would come to an agreement. All right, so a lot of times I kept the politics out of it, which was great to do, and I think we could do that. You have to do what's best for the city, and you have to do what's best for the people. You have to conduct city business on all levels.
I have about two more questions. One of them is just because you brought it up, the East Ridge. And I think this one will matter to Skidmore students. Are there neighborhoods in Saratoga in Saratoga Springs that you think are underserved by the city council and particularly by the safety commissioner? And where are those neighborhoods and what needs aren't being met?
I think that the East Ridge, I think that an ambulance should be out there pronto. Definitely they are not being serviced properly, and they should. They're still in the city of Saratoga. At the terrace, the streets have to be looked at. You have some one-way that possibly should be a one-way street rather than a two-way street, because if something happens, you might not be able to get a fire truck or an ambulance down that street. So I want to take an intense look at the way that the streets are set up in Saratoga Springs, one-way, two-way, to check out all the different areas. And I think that a lot of areas are not well lit, and I want to look at that. And the garages need more cameras, and we have to expand the cameras throughout the city. I think it's very important, so we can help out and look at a lot of things.
Just for viewers who might not understand the situation entirely, the EMS, the lack of EMS out in the East Ridge, that's creating a huge problem for people who require it. But what does that mean? Is it like a long wait time, or?
Well, basically what we have is you have two fire stations now. You have the one on Lake Avenue, and you have the one on West Avenue. So the problem is, Lake Avenue, for Lake Avenue to get out to the East Ridge takes time to get out there. And the current commissioner now will send an ambulance out with the fire truck out to the East Ridge. Okay? If I had an ambulance out on the East Ridge, which I'm going to do, all right, at all times, that will be okay and they'll have coverage. I'm also going to have, when I was in office, I brought up having defibrillators in patrol cars, in every patrol cars. And the current commissioner did start to do that after I left office. But I want every patrol car to have a defibrillator in the trunk, and the police will be taught how to use it, because they could be patrolling and at least they could save a life too, and they could be helpful. So if we have an ambulance out there and we have a better patrol out in that area, that would work.
Great. Last question. Is there anything we haven't asked you that we should, and is there anything you'd like to say that you haven't?
I would like to say to the students, please take a look at the candidate. I understand that sometimes you might just go across the party line, but I'm just asking you, I pray that you just look at the candidate, whoever the candidate is that you want, that you feel that can serve the city better, including the Skidmore students. And that would be totally satisfactory to me. And I want to thank you for just putting up with me during this time. Thank you.